why did you give up the career in the IAS? Because it was so coveted at that time. It still is. We are talking when, a young IAS probationer has been exposed for falsifying claims to sit for exams, identity, disability, eligibility. So it is still very coveted. It is still very powerful, and it is still seen as a chance to effect social change where it matters the most. Why did you, in the 70s, give up the IAS, reject what the IAS was offering you as a career and as a path to what you wanted to do?
Because there's so many facets to the decision. One thing I'd like to say is that when I joined the service, I don't know, when people join for very many different reasons. I joined for the service for the simple reason that I thought I would be able to work for collective good. What my few years in the service made me realize is that it's a huge machine, and you join this machine as a small cog. And for many years, or sometimes forever, you're not able to do a damn thing. So you just go on moving this machine, knowing that it's not moving in the right direction, yet being helpless because you're just a cog. This notion of just walking in and designing something and one policy and everything going all the right way is not true at all. So you're really going in for service, and you think you're going in for service to the people in line with constitutional values. But when you go in, you realize that you're doing service for the vested interests. And then come very, very strong questions as to whether you want to continue to work for vested interests. And if you don't work, then what are the consequences of it? You'll be sent to the boondocks. And boondocks in terms of being sent somewhere is all right. Being boondocks in terms of being sent to the remote corners of India to work is fine, because even there people need. But the moment you go there, the same variables are operating. Mm-hmm. And as soon as you live by the law and you live by ethics, you are not wanted in the system. And then there was corruption. There was so much corruption. This is also corruption. This is arbitrary use of the law by the vested interests in power is again corruption. So I realized that power itself needed to be questioned. This kind of arbitrary power and unilateral power needed to be questioned. So one reason why I left the civil service is I wanted to be powerful in ethics, powerful in morality, and use my power for helping people rather than helping vested interests in the system. And there was, in my terms, there was no choice really. You had to leave.
So, in some movies and in some TV shows, famously a show called Udaan, which emerged in the 80s, this concept of the IAS officer, the IPS officer, as being in service of the people and who would actually make the change that India wanted to see. Are you saying that's a romanticized notion when you saw it up close? And today, in all your interactions with the IAS, and there are many over the years that you have had, do you feel that these are all romanticized notions? And your desire to work and question ethics and to question power and to work in an ethical, moral manner, do you think it's still a decision that you hold that was a good one today in the context of how it is?
I do. I still hold I took the right decision, because in all this hullabaloo and in all this great hype and everything that you see today, point me one person who has been able to make the kind of change that was brought in by the RTI. Tell me another person who was able to enact PNREGA. Tell me a third person who brought in the National Food Security Act. Tell me a fifth person who was able to ensure and guarantee the tribals that they have a right to forests. And I can go on. You can't as the civil service. You are under the orders of the elected representatives, the politicians. In the hierarchy, in the pecking order, you come below the politicians. And to change the values of the politicians and the political party needs to move heaven and earth. And in that, if you're a single IAS officer who contests as well vested interests, you're persona non grata. But if you're free, then you can mobilize and people come to you. And the same set of good IAS officers in the service can respond to you, because you become another power structure. What happens when people get together and mobilize into a civil society action group, whether it's a campaign or a people's movement, We represent then power. We represent the power of the Constitution. The Constitution says that we are the sovereign. So sovereign power comes to you to contest representative power. So you have to choose between two powers. And yet at that time, several very good IAS officers, several very good police service officers have come out of the way to help us. But they needed the push and they needed the strength to contest electoral representatives. They needed that power to contest people who were representatives in terms of party politics. Even within political parties, there were so many people who came to help, but they had to fight battles within their own political parties to support this kind of agenda. But this push was required from outside. So I don't believe, I think they're romantic stories. There are some things that can be done, like I have great regard for a police, for an IAS officer called Mr. S.R. Shankaran, who was the Andhra cadre. He has taught me many things in life. He was a man of absolute ethics, but he was willing to give up everything. Everything. That's why he was remarkable. But most people are not willing to give up everything. There are a few others. I could count them on my fingertips of my two hands. The numbers who really were willing to give up everything for the job that they were in, for the constitution that they upheld, and for the people they came to care for. But they are very few.
And in the past decade, we've seen lateral hires at the joint secretary level, where people who did not come, via the route that of the union of the UPSC happen. We now know that IAS officers can be part of organizations, can be members of organizations like the RSS. Will that continue to dilute the role and scope of the civil service and the IAS as you see it?
Let me first tell you that you need a permanent civil service. So, mind you, if you look at all that we have done, we've protested against them all the time. But we need a permanent civil service. I went to Mexico. I've traveled all over the world for RTI because it's drawn me into many other national debates. It's taken me all over the country, all over the world in terms of political debate on movements and what movements can do and what are these laws and how to get them framed and so on. And in Mexico, when I was there, they said, you're very lucky you have a permanent civil service because there's a continuity and a continued accountability. When you engage people on contract, they stay for 5 years. They can make as much money as they wish. They can ruin the policy. They can ruin everything, governance, and they can go away and they can just up and go abroad. They can run away. They can be untraceable. And there is no real long-term accountability, which is a kind of reign of the power that they hold. So a permanent civil service is in the interest of the people. A contracted civil service is in the interests of politicians, political parties, and in terms of vested interest in terms of money, investors, profit makers, people who break the rules but who want quick money. They want quick decisions, quick implementation, and then they want no accountability. So when you have these lateral entries, I am quite worried. And I would like to know on what grounds and what are the terms of agreement by which these lateral entries come to work for the system. I would really be worried. And so far as joining an organization like the RSS is concerned, then all government servants should be given total freedom to join campaigns, to join movements, to join Congress, to join CPM, to join CPI, to join any other group that has similar movements going. They should allow them all. Then it's fine. But why choose only the RSS? That in my case is incorrect, unethical, and completely without integrity. Because you're pushing them into a certain political position where they will applaud you, promote you, maybe underwrite all your misdemeanors so that they can carry on for as long as they wish. And you can bargain with them that if you don't, we will get rid of you, or if you do it, we'll give you the best post. I don't think it's the right thing to do.